So every week you're going to have a project that is assigned as an activity, and there's a extra credit project that you can do if you want to, okay? And for the assigned project, you are going to click on the link, and the instructions and the file that you need to download are going to be accessible. So these are just some generic instructions. Basically, it will correct everything when you submit it, and you can fix the problem and resubmit up to 10 times to get all of the points. So in Moodle, the maximum points you get are 20 for this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit start. Here's the directions that I am going to download. And I am going to actually put them in that folder I created. And I'm going to throw these directions in module 1 because that's what I'm currently working on. And then here is my starter file, which I'm also going to save into module 1. And module 1 was created when I downloaded the zipped folder and extracted it. So if you haven't watched that video, that is in the orientation section. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my instructions. And you need to carefully follow the instructions. And the instructions do include, they typically include an example of what it should look like, although I don't know. Let me enable my editing here. Whoop. Let's pull this over. Enable the editing. And here's the final figure. So they do typically have a final figure that you can look at, so you can kind of visually see if you've done it right or not. Let me go back to project steps. You want to make sure you very carefully follow these instructions, especially the instructions on naming the file. Because if you name the file incorrectly when you upload it, it is going to mark that wrong, and it might not even take the file itself if you do not name it correctly. So let me go back to module 1. Here is my file, which I'm going to double click and open. And of course, they always open in the wrong window. So I'm going to pull this over here. All right, so here's my file. And let me put my directions right next to that. And we'll kind of change the size up a little bit here. All right. Says save the file as, and you see how it's giving us very specific instructions. Basically, we need to change the 1 to a 2. So before I even start, I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so after my name or my test student's name, I have a 1, and I'm going to change that to a 2. And it should put the proper extension on the file. If I widen this up, you can see it did put that on there. Okay. So cell B6 of the documentation sheet. All right, so I selected B6. Make sure it has your first and last name. My test student's name is Joe Schmo, so that is accurate. If it does not have the first and the last name, there is a problem, and they're saying you should delete the entire file and download a new copy. Now we get into the project steps. So it's giving you a little scenario here. So we're going to be working on this invoice sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and activate it. Okay, so they want us to enter the title. Now, if you are not a great typist, you should be able to copy the text, Control C, click on A1 and press Control and the letter V as in Victor. Okay, so cell B4, enter the date. Where's B4? There it is. So I'm just going to type this in. And then B5, which I am currently on. Now, if you don't know the cell that you're on, double check up on your name box. Change the text B101 to R101. So I'm just going to double click in here, change the B to an R, press enter. C13, enter 2 as the quantity of arthritis medications. C13. Clear the contents of C17. So I'm going to widen this up because I'm going to use the button, which is this one, just clearing contents as directed. Calculate the total charge for each item in E10. So this is a formula, multiplying the value in D10 by the value in C10. And then they want us to use the fill handle to copy. So it's going to be equal. And I'm going to select it in the order. It does not normally matter what order you select in. Whoops, that should be multiply. But I'm not going to take chances. So we've got D10 by the value in C10. And then I'm going to use my fill handle. Let me press enter, use the fill handle here to copy it down. Okay, and E15, enter a formula that uses sum. And E10 through E14. So I'm double checking the range. That is correct. E17, they want a different formula. So we're going to subtract the value in E16, the discount, from the value in E15. All right, so we have to select E15 and then subtract out E16. Copy the content of B6 and paste it in C20. Going to copy and paste. And I'm using Control C and Control V, but you can use copy and paste up here as well. Hide the grid lines. Alrighty. And let's turn those off. Okay, so now we should look like the final figure. Let us check to make sure that we do. And I can see when I copy and pasted the title, it did change the way the title looks, and I don't want to get that wrong. So let's go into home. And let's look at the formatting here. Whoop. Cell style formatting. And they probably had the title format on that, so I'm going to select that. And now it does look similar. All right, so at this point, I'm going to save it. And hopefully everything will be right. And says follow the directions to submit. So I've gone through this whole thing, and now I'm going to go back out to Sam and hit continue. Drag and drop the file there, which means I've got so many things open. I've got to go back into my folder and let me make so this is not full screen. So it is the number 2 one that I want to make sure that I drag and drop. And it is a good idea to make sure you have saved it. And I'm also going to close this file. All right. So here's the file. I'm going to drag and drop right here. Okay, and I'm going to submit. All right, now I'm going to review my report. And that should tell me if I got anything wrong. And it looks like I got everything right because I can see the little check marks, 100 out of 100, awesome. So I'm going to exit out of here. And now if I go into my little course dashboard, check the grades, it should bring forward this score as 20 out of 20. There's just a tad bit of a delay, but that is where I will see it, and I should get the 20 out of 20. Now, what happens if you didn't get 100%? The report will show you what you got wrong. So then you're going to go back out to the course, you're going to open your file, and you're going to fix it. And then you can go back into project. Hit start. Then after you make the corrections and you save it, you are simply going to drag it here and submit it. You can resubmit up to 10 times. Okay. After you've resubmitted a couple times, if you're still getting something wrong and you don't know why, it might be a good idea to ask for help. And if you email me, make sure you send the report and also your file that you are submitting so I can double check them.